Welcome everyone, it's Great Guy, Wrath Great as always, finally getting back into the recording, and we are starting off with an Oona, Queen of the Fae deck tech. Hopefully we can get some games. The last few games I played with her didn't end out very well, but let's get into her. She is a legendary creature, flying fairy. 3, and then 3, what is that? Dimir, I think? Dimir, got me wrong? Yeah, which is blue-black, so we got Flying X, Dimir, choose a color, target opponent exiles the top X card to their library. For each card of the chosen color exiled this way, create a 1/1 blue and black fairy rogue creature token with flying. So, and she is a 5/5, pretty good. Not only is she good for exile, it could basically, she just straight up exiles with cards. Those opponents don't have them. It's not even milled. They don't even go to their library or their graveyard. And you get some fairy rogues out of the deal. So, as far as we're concerned, just like all my other deck techs, we operate on a basis of 36 lands. I think I may have had a couple decks that had a few more lands, but on average, 36 lands. I like to throw in pretty much a bunch of islands. I have my favorite island art is this chippy island art. I really like it. I was trying to find like a mural of that painting, and I couldn't find that artist. That artist tends to keep themselves pretty reserved. They apparently they like their privacy, and I can't find the art. If someone knows where to get this art from in like a big painting, let me know. That would be pretty good. Aside from that, it's basically just a bunch of whatever blue-black duels that you happen to have at the time, and of course, I have all the fun stuff. Like Underground Sea and Urborg, Watery Grave, Cabal Coffers. I got things like that, but those are unnecessary. Just basically any dual lands that you have that fit the theme of blue and black. So let's roll on. So we got one drop. So we got Soul Ring, because of course, Skull Clamp. If you're making a bunch of 1/1 fairies, you got to Skull Clamp them so you get some cards. So there you go. Ponder, because it's blue, and you want to try. Basically, the idea is you want to try to get through your deck as quickly as possible. You want to try to draw as many cards, get a large mass of fairies on the battlefield, because a lot of the cards rely on number of fairies. Also, fairies being traditionally smaller creature types, you want to get as a large board presence of fairies as quickly as possible. We got Opt for doing some little scry. So we got Fairy Seer. When you enter the battlefield, scry 2, which is 1/1 for 1, flying, good to go. Brainstorm for more card draw. Cloud of Fairies basically enters battlefield. It's essentially a free fairy, but also if you have certain lands out, you can get pretty good benefits from untapping those. Cyclonic Rift, because it's a blue deck. Night Bell Sprite, and Surveil is awesome. Also, the art, really, this is just great. I can't tell in some of the art if the fairies are like small, because fairies are traditionally small, but sometimes fairies are larger. So I don't know like the size of the fairies. We got Quickling, which is flash flying. Whenever it enters the battlefield, sacrifice unless you return another creature you control to its owner's hand. So you can use this for blink shenanigans, for like ETB effects. There are some end of the battlefield cards in here that this will work with. And or if you want to just bring something back to your hand and then let it come out. So Quickling is good. We got a Spellstar Sprite. It's good for countering spells. There's not much to it. You can play this into an empty board to counter a 1/1 or 1 or 0 mana costing spell. You got regular counter spell. We got Hypnotic Sprite, which is it's either a flying spell or it can be an instant counter target spell with converted mana cost 3 or less. So it depends on what you want to do it for. I do like the fairy, but it's good. We got Bitter Blossom. This is sweet. Bitter Blossom's really nice. I like it. Sure, you lose a life, but you get a fairy rogue. So I think it's worth it. Go for the throat. Removal. Nectar Fairy, which gives you a little bit of lifelink. We get Oona's Blackguard, which there's a lot of rogues in the deck. Surprisingly, there's a lot of fairy wizards too, but there's a bunch of rogues in the deck, so this really helps out. Ardsake Signet for ramp. Dimir Signet for ramp. Mindstone for ramp. Ramp. Yeah. Well, yeah. So we got more ramp. Then we get Dimir Locker for some more ramp. Commander Sphere for some more ramp. Phyrexian Arena for additional card draw. Murder, because who doesn't like murder? Hero's Downfall for some more single target removal. Good for Planeswalkers. Thieving Sprite enters battlefield. Basically, you're allowed to Depending on how many fairies you have on the battlefield, this is why you want a nice collection of fairies, because then you can look at all of the cards in their hand, because they have to reveal all of them if you have enough of them. And then you can choose a card to remove. Vilgenian Clique, whenever it enters the battlefield, look at target player's hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player reveals the chosen card and puts it on the bottom of the library and then draws a card. Yeah. So you can choose yourself if you want to. I believe so, yeah. Choose target player's hand. Yeah, you can choose yourself. Spirit Noble enters other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. Other creatures you control with flying gets +1/+0 till end turn. So basically, it's just a way to give your fairies a little bit of pump. Fairy Trickery counters target non-fairy spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile instead of putting in the graveyard. So it's just another counter spell. Disallow is one of my favorite counter spells, so we're going to keep that in there. Scion of Oona basically gives your fairies +1/+1 and Shroud. Rhystic Study, because why not? More card draw. Pestermite. Pestermite is very useful right as combat's about to happen. You want to use it to lock down a creature. I use Pestermite pretty good to lock down an angel that was about to wreck my face, so that was useful. And then we got Thran Dynamo. I don't really run Thran Dynamo a lot in any new decks these days, but there are a couple of big X spells in the deck, so I kept Thran Dynamo in here. Glenendra Liege, which basically just pumps up our blue and our black creatures. Then we got the Biting Gale, which you can bring it back to your hands. This is more ETB effects, flash flying, 3/3. It's fine. I wish it was a little cheaper though. We got Rankle, Master of Pranks. This is one of the newer cards that I put in there. I think it's probably one of the last Throne of Eldraine cards I bought. But Rankle is awesome. Like Rankle really messes with people, so I like him. Damnation, because it needs some board wipes. Cryptic Command, because who doesn't like Cryptic Command? Sower of Temptations, gain control of target creature as long as it's on the battlefield. So Sower of Temptations is great for just taking one of your opponent's hosers. Counterspell for free, basically, as long as you have the mana. Reconnaissance Mission. Enters the whenever a creature controlled is combat to a player, you may draw a card. So a lot of flyers, so you can deal quite a bit of damage when you have a bunch of flyers. We got Notorious Throng. This is really good. This is an extra turn spell if you are able to do damage and you have 6 mana. Glenendra Arc. Or no, hold on. We got a Mistbind Click, which is flash flying. Champion a fairy. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it lets you exile another fairy control. When this leaves the battlefield, that card returns to the battlefield. Whenever a fairy is championed with Mistbind, untap all lands target player controls. So it's pretty good. We got our Archmage again. Glenendra Archmage is really good for countering some abilities. Fairy Swarm, power tough equal to the number of blue permanents you control, so you get a whole bunch of fairies. Fairy Harbingering, when it enters the battlefield, you may search the library for a fairy card, reveal it, and then put it into your library and put it on top of the card. So this is good for trying to find those fairies that you need. Fairy Artisans is great. Every time an opponent casts a creature, it makes a copy until another creature is cast, and so it's pretty useful. Really good 1v1. Distant Melody, basically, you choose whatever creature type and it lets you draw. So if you pick fairies, you can draw cards equal number of fairies. You got Fairy Formation, which allows you to create a fairy, which if you have a lot of mana, you can pump a lot of fairies out. It's pretty good. Nightshade Schemer, flying kinship at the beginning of your upkeep. You may look at the top card of your library. If it shares a creature type with Nightshade Schemer, you may reveal it. If you do, each opponent loses 2 life. You don't get to draw it, you just get to reveal it. And well, I guess you do get to look at it, so yeah, that's fine. Puppeteer Clique. I don't think I have I might be wrong, but I don't think I have like the things that go well with this card, aside from it just being mildly oppressive. But lets you take stuff from your opponent's graveyards. I have used this to steal a dragon out of an opponent's graveyard and kill them with their own dragon, so it's pretty good. Dire Undercurrents. I haven't been able to cast this, mostly just because every time I get it, it's a little too expensive. But it allows you basically to draw cards, and then you can have opponents discard cards. Gilded Lotus, probably not really needed in this deck, but whatever. I went with it. Vanquishes Banner. See, I'm trying to decide whether or not Vanquishes Banner. It's good because it gives them +1/+1 and it lets me draw, but I don't know if it's like the tribal finisher that I really want it to be. Beseech the Queen. Search the library for a card with converted mana cost equal, less than or equal to the number of lands you control. Reveal it and put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. This is good if you're just trying to grab some stuff. You can either pay 6 or you can pay 3 black. So this is but its converted mana cost is 6, which is funny. We got Kid's Dominance mostly just because you need a board wipe that doesn't completely wipe your side, so it's good to go. Curse the Swine. Use this as much as you can. I love Curse the Swine. Stolen by the Fae. Return target creatures with converted mana cost X to their owner's hand. You create that many 1/1 blue fairy creature tokens. And Blue Sun Zenith, which is basically just allows you to draw a whole bunch of cards. And Torment of Hailfire as a way to try to close out the game. Try to get as much mana as you can, and then throw that Torment of Hailfire out there. So yeah, it's mostly just like fairies trying to do fairy things. There's not like a huge combo synergy. It's kind of just very good stuff, and I wouldn't say it's super good, but hey, it's Oona, Queen of the Fae. So we're gonna play with it. We're gonna see what happens, and if you are building an Oona deck, I would highly recommend that you look at more like combo-y abilities, and it might look very similar to this deck, but I think this deck might be missing a few things that really kind of seal the deal. But aside from that, we're gonna have at least one gameplay video up of let's go through Oona, Queen of the Fae. Enjoy.